Welcome to the Digital Nomads Podcast. We're here to give you the latest insights on everything digital from inside the agency.
Thanks for joining us. Today I'm here with Ash.
Hello.
This is a bit of a change up. Normally we do have Annabelle who jumps in, or Jody, but yeah, today we've got Ash, my brother, if you can't recognize in the video, which you will see when it switches over to him, I'm sure. Look, Ash is in SEO as well, your expertise. Maybe, I don't know, do you want to run down what do you do at the moment? What's your position within the agency?
Yeah. So I'm an SEO account manager.
Yep.
I work alongside Annabelle, who is our head of SEO.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've been doing that for a little while.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, look, what we're going to do is we'll just go through some topics again, same as what we normally do.
Mm-hmm.
Get your insight. You're normally very technical in the SEO space, so we'll go into some more technical stuff today. I've got written down, we're going to talk about AI, we're going to talk about fake content. Fake content is a big thing at the moment, or it's definitely being a talking point, especially with Google having a new algorithm documentation coming out regarding the fake content.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you know about it?
Well, I think they've been working on this for a while now. LLMs have made a huge difference in the last year.
Yeah.
And I think we're only starting to see this, really the start of it, like going into 2024, 2025.
Yeah.
We're going to see that exponential growth and use of it.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing and what Google and it is trying to achieve is trying to remove that. We need to make sure that real businesses and real content creators aren't missing out.
Yeah.
Because these systems are being used to create content.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to batch content using them.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to create really good content.
Yeah. So I think, digesting then what an LLM does in AI. So we'll bring it back for everyone who doesn't understand. LLM is a language model.
Yeah.
And it's ultimately learning based on the user input and the user data.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, because it's an input on user data, the user data can be fake, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's ultimately where we're at the moment is that people are batching out fake content or putting out content that isn't necessarily of truth in a certain aspect. And then the LLM is picking up fake content and then redistributing it, and thus we get fake content from AI. The problem that we have at the moment is that users, consumers, us, anybody that is using AI kind of uses it as this source of truth, which is interesting. I think because it's AI tech, we believe that it must be credible, right?
Yeah.
Go, oh, this is credible, this is truth, this is AI, this is given by OpenAI, it's given by Google, it's given by Gemini, whatever it might be, Meta AI, that you just believe the source of truth.
Yeah.
Whereas when it's a language model that is being trained by our data, is it necessarily true? And what Google has now come along and done is, with this fake content idea, it's clever implementations into the language model to better mitigate fake content being distributed.
Yeah.
That's kind of the idea.
Well, you can do any sort of, like you do in real life, like when you do any sort of critical thinking. But if you ask an LLM a question, ask it for statistics.
Yeah.
And it could be business statistics, any sort of big statistics.
Yeah.
It will give you an output. Go and ask another LLM the same question and you'll get a different output. And sometimes they can be wildly different.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful there what information, whether obviously hallucinations are a big thing.
Yeah.
And that's talked about a lot. And I think that's a big problem. Obviously, you don't want to rely on information that's provided by an LLM without doing your research.
Yeah.
And
What's, just for the people that won't know, what's a hallucination in AI?
hallucination, I think actually when you get really technical, they actually don't understand quite what it is.
Yeah.
But the long and short of it is that an LLM, when it takes enough information in, will provide an output that is completely false.
Yeah.
And isn't true at all.
Yeah.
But because it's not citing, you'll find there are certain AI models that will use citations, but some of them don't. So they will give you information, and you can, if you were to read that and take that as gospel, then you could find yourself in trouble.
Yeah, and we've seen this all over, Reddit. Hallucinations that are coming out from AI, and it's pretty funny when you see some of them. They're not
some pretty bad ones.
Putting pineapple on a pizza and using super glue to stick it down, that's a hallucination or something that is being threaded in. So this is now where these AI models then need to drastically work on providing information that is a bit more proofed, I should say.
Yeah, well, where we're getting to now as these LLMs are sort of exponentially growing. I mean, Llama 3.1 that's just been released is 408 billion parameters, which is by far the biggest model that we've seen yet. They're running out of data to use. So what happens is obviously these systems crawl the internet, use the information that's provided to them. But as content's being created and put out onto the internet, that information is then getting fed back into the system.
Yeah.
So, if you provide a system like that with really good, clean information, you're going to get a better, cleaner output.
Yeah.
And that's what they say. One of the biggest issues technically when they're designing AI is once they retrieve the data is cleaning it up so that it's easy to interpret and use.
Yeah.
So
this is where it references, I'm going to jump in there, this is where it's starting to then, where the LLMs pull their information from credible sources is becoming more and more important. So originally a big thing was the Quora, Reddit, Medium were being leveraged as the primary source of truth, which is why Reddit saw an exponential growth. I think it was like a 3-4-fold in organic traffic in the last 2 years or something.
Yeah.
Because of AI, they're trying to change those where would be your source of truth moving forward and which kind of, sites or directories or publications do you leverage as source of truth for these models, which does take us into a whole nother topic in a minute, but you start leaning in things like political bias.
And that's a big thing. I mean, Google's done a really good job over the last, 2 decades in understanding how to determine what is credible and what isn't. That's why we use, Google My Business.
Yeah.
And everything at social metrics now, and Google's got very good at determining what is reliable and what isn't.
Yeah.
These LLMs are almost brute forcing the system by just taking tons and tons and tons of information in, and giving you an output.
Yeah, true. I think they're moving into what I was talking about a second ago from like political bias. And I don't know if you've seen recently, there's some stuff that's going around online about, which is a whole nother segue, but there is some manipulation that we can see through search at the moment when it starts to go in political. So I'm talking, and I'll state now, I'm not coming in with a political bias to one or the other, not left or right. I'm just talking openly about the technology and what we are seeing. But there's particular... what's the best way to put this? There's particular parameters that have been implemented by Google that removes the ability to search for certain people and questions. So I don't know if you've seen, but the one that's trending at the moment is the Donald Trump conversation, right? You can search, when you're searching in Google, you get the autocomplete, right?
Yeah.
Donald Trump is completely removed from autocomplete in Google search. Yeah. So you can't search for President Donald Trump within search.
Yeah.
Whereas you can search for any previous president. And the other one that was interesting is the conversation that's been around the AI search and the Meta AI. Actually, Neil Patel was one that mentioned this one yesterday or the day before in a podcast, is going into an open AI or going into Meta AI and talking about the assassination attempt on Donald Trump and said, give me some information on that. And the AI platform actually said, I don't have up-to-date, I don't know about this, I don't have up-to-date information about this. And then straight after they follow up with the Kamala Harris running for president, and they had that information, which was actually after the assassination attempt.
Yeah.
So where this starts then going is that Google is supposed to be a place of open source information, right? And the AI models are supposed to be non-politically biased.
Yeah.
Yet we are seeing political bias in search engines and
These systems.
AI models
Yeah.
that are removing the ability to be able to search for current presidential candidates,
Yeah.
even to the point of another one that was recently shown was when you were, I think actually Elon put this on his Twitter. It had 101 million impressions on this, by the way, which is insane. That is a huge amount of impressions.
Unbelievable.
And it was he put it onto his Twitter the other day, and it was he searched for Donald Trump news, and all of the news underneath was all Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
So I think something that needs to be uncovered in this, which is very much, we're talking off topic here in the fake content, but we're talking about content, we're talking about AI, and we're talking about search, that we also need to understand that there is this potential at the moment of where we've got political bias within our search, and we've got the filtering within our search. Again, we'll stay not politically biased in one or the other way. I'm not going left or right, just talking about what we are seeing.
Yeah.
It's something that is, I believe, still a problem that we've got within the search engines and the results that we are seeing.
Yeah, I agree. Like, there's been, I think for some time now, Elon Musk has mentioned this too.
He's a big voice for this.
He's a big voice for this stuff. Yeah, even throughout different social media platforms, they've always had a potential political sort of bias one way or another. I think that really just sort of feeds into what we said before about having those critical thinking skills and making sure that you're looking at all the data. And really looking at lots of different avenues, getting information from different areas rather than just relying on one source of truth.
For sure.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how these models align as they move forward and they take in more information. There's been some talk of them using AI models to create emulated or artificial information. Yeah. To use that to train the system as they start to run out of information to use.
Yeah, it's kind of like
almost
self-training.
Self-training, yeah.
Yeah, interesting concept. I guess we'll watch where that goes long term. But all right, well, that's good. But thanks for joining us for today. I think that covers it, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.
Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for our next episode.